Today I'm going to do live practice of listening test. You can see how is it in the real exam. My name is Rubbal and this is ptemockTest.com. Now I'm going to do headphone and microphone check. Let's start. This is our head check. Listen to the audio carefully in the exam.
Hello and welcome to PTEMockTest.com. We hope you are able to hear properly.
All good. Microphone testing. My name is Rubbal. My name is Rubbal. So timer is there. I'm going to listen to the notes and going to make notes out of the audio.
Computer algorithms today are performing incredible tasks with high accuracies at a massive scale using human-like intelligence. And this intelligence of computers is often referred to as AI or artificial intelligence. AI is poised to make an incredible impact on our lives in the future. Today, however, we still face massive challenges in detecting and diagnosing several life-threatening illnesses such as infectious diseases and cancer. Thousands of patients every year lose their lives due to liver and oral cancer. Our best way to help these patients is to perform early detection and diagnosis of these diseases. So how do we detect these diseases today, and can artificial intelligence help? In patients who unfortunately are suspected of these diseases, an expert physician first orders very expensive medical imaging technologies such as fluorescent imaging, CTs, MRIs to be performed. Once those images are collected, another expert physician then diagnoses those images and talks to the patient. As you can see, this is a very resource-intensive process requiring both expert physicians, expensive medical imaging technologies, and is not considered practical for the developing world, and in fact, in many industrialized nations as well.
Okay, based on my notes, I'm going to start typing. Countries, perfect. Clear to the next joke about artificial intelligence. I'll give the space here, and here we don't need anything. Next one.
This is the bop. The bop is a type of social dance. Dance is a language, and social dance is an expression that emerges from a community. A social dance isn't choreographed by any one person. It can't be traced to any one moment. Each dance has steps that everyone can agree on, but it's about the individual and their creative identity. Because of that, social dances bubble up, they change, and they spread like wildfire. They are as old as our remembered history. In African American social dances, we see over 200 years of how African and African American traditions influenced our history. The present always contains the past, and the past shapes who we are and who we will be. The Juba dance was born from enslaved Africans' experience on the plantation. Brought to the Americas stripped of a common spoken language, this dance was a way for enslaved Africans to remember where they're from. It may have looked something like this. Slapping thighs, shuffling feet, and patting hands. This was how they got around the slave owner's ban on drumming. Improvising complex rhythms, just like ancestors did with drums in Haiti or in the Yoruba communities of West Africa. It was about keeping cultural traditions alive and retaining a sense of inner freedom under captivity.
Because it's a name, so it has to be capital. Okay, all good. 7 seconds. Read the question. What is true about the writing of the author?
So when I started to write my own science fiction and fantasy, I was surprised that it was considered un-African. So naturally I asked, what is African? And this is what I know so far. Africa is important. Africa is the future. It is, though. And Africa is a serious place where only serious things happen. So when I present my work, somewhere will always ask, what's so important about it? How does it deal with real African issues like war, poverty, devastation, or AIDS? And it doesn't. My work is about Nairobi pop bands that want to go to space, or about 7-foot-tall robots that fall in love. It's nothing incredibly important. It's just fun, fierce, and frivolous as bubblegum, Afro bubblegum.
7 seconds. Utilize. Read your question.
Before buttons, clothes were bigger. They were more kind of amorphous. And people like wriggled into them or like just kind of wrapped themselves in things. But then fashion moved closer to the body as we discovered uses for the button. At one time, it was the one way to make clothes fit against the body. I think the reason buttons have endured for so long historically is because they actually work to keep our clothes shut. Zippers break, Velcro makes a lot of noise and it wears out after a while. If a button falls off, you just literally sew that thing on. A button is kind of there for the long run. It's not just the most elemental design ever. It's also such a crazy fashion statement.
Okay, I'm going to write that down in my notebook first.
At the beginning of the space exploration age, 50 years ago only, the probes we sent in space revealed that the planets in our solar system constantly bathe in a stream of particles that are coming from the sun and that we call the solar wind. And in the same way that global wind patterns here on Earth can be affected by hurricanes, the solar wind is sometimes affected by solar storms that I like to call space hurricanes. When they arrive at planets, they can perturb their space environment, which in turn create northern or southern lights, for example, here on Earth, but also Saturn, and also Jupiter.
All right. Let's type it together. Exploration. I have bathed. Okay, bathe. Hurricane. Japan. Hurricanes. Perturb. And then last one. Saturn.
So the creative process, you know this, from the first idea to the final product is a long process. It's super iterative, lots of refinement, blood, sweat, tears, and years. And we're not saying you're going to go out for a walk and come back with the Sistine Chapel in your left hand, right? So what frame of the creative process did we focus on? Just this first part, just brainstorming, coming up with a new idea. So we actually ran 4 studies with a variety of people. You were either walking indoors or outdoors, and we all found the same, all of these studies found the same conclusion. I'm only going to tell you about one of them today.
Okay, I'm going to type the creative It's super iterative. Sustainable was just brainstorming and then walking, and then last one, conclusion. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Okay, highlight correct summary.
It turns out that fashion, a discipline many of us consider to be trivial, can actually be a powerful tool for dismantling bias and bolstering the self-images of underrepresented populations. My interest in using design as a vehicle for social change happens to be a personal one. As a Nigerian American, I know how easily the term African can slip from being an ordinary geographic descriptor to becoming a pejorative. For those of us from this beautiful continent, to be African is to be inspired by culture and to be filled with undying hope for the future. So, in an attempt to shift the misguided perceptions that many have about the place of my birth, I use design as a means to tell stories. Stories about joy, stories about triumph, stories about perseverance all throughout the African diaspora.
In your 7 seconds, read as many as options as you could.
The two places where I feel most free aren't actually places, they're moments. The first is inside of dance, somewhere between rising up against gravity and the feeling that the air beneath me is falling in love with my body's weight. I'm dancing and the air is carrying me like I might never come down. The second place that I feel free is after scoring a goal on the soccer pitch. My body floods with the chemical that they put inside of EpiPens to revive the dead, and I am weightless, raceless.
The Philippines, an idyllic country with some of the clearest water and bluest skies on the planet. It is also the epicenter of one of the fastest growing HIV epidemics in the world. On the surface, it seems as if we are just a late bloomer. However, the reasons for our current epidemic are much more complicated and may foreshadow a global resurgence of HIV. While overall new cases of HIV continue to drop in the world, this trend may be short-lived when the next wave of more aggressive and resistant viruses arrive. HIV has a potential to transform itself into a new and different virus every time it infects a cell. Despite the remarkable progress we've made in reversing the epidemic, the truth is that we are just a few viral mutations away from disaster.
I'm a theater maker who loves sports. When I was making my latest piece, Pelota, I thought a lot about how soccer was a means for my own immigrant family to foster a sense of continuity and normality and community within the new context of the US. In this heightened moment of xenophobia and assault on immigrant identity, I wanted to think through how the game could serve as an affirmational tool for first-generation Americans and immigrant kids, to ask them to consider movement patterns on the field as kin to migratory patterns across social and political borders.
Select missing words.
Hearing loss makes it hard to fish on the open water, hunt caribou, and harvest berries, activities central to Alaska Native culture. Hearing loss isn't unique to rural Alaska. It's global. The Global Burden of Disease Project estimates that there are 1.1 billion people living with hearing loss worldwide. That's more people than the entire population here in sub-Saharan Africa. Over 80% are in low and middle income countries, and many have no access to
Many years later, I couldn't bear the thought of my son turning 13 without some kind of rite of passage. So I came up with the idea of a 13th birthday trip, and I offered to take Murphy anywhere in the world that had meaning for him. A budding young naturalist who loved turtles, he immediately settled on the Galapagos. And when my daughter Katie turned 13, she and I spent 2 weeks at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, where Katie learned for the first time that she was powerful and brave. Since then, my partner Ashton and lots of our friends and relatives have taken their kids on 13th birthday trips, with everyone finding it transformative for both
child and the parent. We're talking about the child. Okay, highlight incorrect words. Very important to read what question you are getting it, because sometimes we mix match and focus. So highlight incorrect words. I need to just click on.
Luckily, here on Earth, we are protected by our planet's natural shield, a magnetic bubble that we call the magnetosphere, and that you can see here on the right side. Nonetheless, solar storms can still be responsible for disrupting satellite telecommunications and operations, for disrupting navigation systems such as the GPS, as well as electric power transmission. All of these are technologies on which us, humans, rely more and more. I mean, imagine if you woke up tomorrow without a working cell phone, no internet on it, which means no social media. I mean, to me, that would be worse than the zombie apocalypse.
Okay, highlight incorrect word.
So the definition of creativity that a lot of people go with is appropriate novelty. So for something to be appropriate, it has to be realistic. So unfortunately, you can't use a key as an eyeball. Boo. But novel is the second thing, is that nobody had to have said it. So for us, novelty, it had to be appropriate first. And then for novelty, nobody else in the entire population that we surveyed could have said it. So you might think you could use a key to scratch somebody's car. But if somebody else said that, you didn't get credit for it. Neither of you did. However, only one person said this. If you were dying and it were a murder mystery, and you had to carve the name of the murderer into the ground with your dying words. So one person said this.
Okay, next one. Oh, very important task. Right from dictation. Spellings are important. Focus on making the notes.
Thailand produces 2 million cars a year, more than the United Kingdom.
Okay. Here, while writing the right from dictation notes, you don't need to write everything in capitals. I mean full spellings. You can use abbreviations. So Thailand produces 2 million cars per year, more than United Kingdom. So I'm going to put U and K capital, and then don't forget to put full stop in the end. More than the United Kingdom. Very important to check your grammar. Right, good. Let's move to the next question. Caps lock on. Write it down.
The octopus is a rather strange looking animal that exhibits amazingly complex behaviors.
Okay. The octopus is a rather strange looking animal behaviors. Don't worry about whether it's behavior spelling. It's BOR, or you can use both American and the United Kingdom English. But make sure you follow the same throughout your test. Last question. Yes. Okay. Let's log on.
It's an age-old pursuit of all parents, getting their kids to eat their vegetables.
Okay. It's an age-old pursuit of all parents getting their kids to eat their vegetables. Okay, it's an age-old pursuit of all parents getting their parents getting the kids, because there are two ideas, so we'll just use that one. Okay, all good. Okay, so it was excellent, average, and that's it. Well, that's wrap for today. If you found our video informative, don't forget to subscribe us and hit the bell icon for more latest videos. This will really help us to produce more content. My name is Rubbal and this is PTEMockTest.com.